Well, good afternoon. Good afternoon and welcome to another Webinar Wednesday hosted by the Cal State Bakersfield Small Business Development Center. Good afternoon, I'm Kelly Bearden. I'm going to be your host for today for Webinar Wednesday number 363. Boy, I'll tell you, if you need a small business loan, you want to know about small business financing, you are at the right place, and we will get going. A lot of information today, information overload, I'm sure, but here, let's go right ahead right now. And today is October 22nd, 2025. And we'll be talking about some details on promising new SBA loan programs, some of the other programs that are out there. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the government still being shut down, but SBA programs, getting ready for it and getting credit ready and becoming loan ready takes a little bit of time. So it's a good time to learn about some of the options that you have available. Some of the alternatives resources, alternatives not only to manufacturing and contractors and seasoned businesses, but many others will be discussed today. So also the loan programs, the alternative financing that's available. Our Capital Quarter will advise you on what to watch for, fintech type loans. And those are the internet type loans that we haven't talked about in quite a while, but a few things that you might want to become aware of and look for if you're looking for small business funding. The Economic Corner, we'll just touch on a little bit of the closure. We'll talk about some of the community events, the happenings, the news, the resources. We'll take your questions live. So after our special guest today, Scott Rogalski, speaks, we will be taking your live questions at the conclusion of his presentations. Our resources today will be in the chat box. Everything we talk about, about everything we talk about. If there's a link that can help you in your business, our webinar producer, Maureen Busher-Dang, will put that in the chat box for today. And yes, we do have a poll today. So let's jump with the poll questions and kind of start with the first of three poll questions. And the first one is going to just be a little bit of research, and we're going to be looking at what type of financing your business currently needs most. Is it going to be for working capital, for ongoing operations, equipment or machine purchases, inventory, payroll support, or potentially contract financing, maybe bridge or project-based? So a little bit to find out from our audience what is out there today as far as financing and what are your needs for today. So we are already at 53%. So what type of financing? Is it working capital? Is it equipment and machinery? A little bit of inventory, contract financing on a bridge or a project? We do have 60% of you participating. Jump in. Here's your last chance to participate in poll question number 1 for today. And what we'll do is we will go ahead and close the poll with 66% of you participating. Thank you so much, and share the results with you. And half of you are looking at working capital for your ongoing operations. That's good to know. Another 20%, a little bit of seasonal inventory or payroll support. 20% of you have a project and maybe need bridge funding, and only 10% of you are looking for equipment or machinery. So thank you so much for that. We will stop sharing and move to poll question number 2. And also along the lines of a little research that we can get for today is going to be your awareness. How familiar you are with SBA loan programs from SBA. Are you very familiar, somewhat familiar? You've heard of them, but don't understand the options. You're not familiar at all. So a little on-the-fly market research on Webinar Wednesday number 363. Poll question number 2, how familiar are you with Small Business Administration loan programs? So we do have 64% of you right now participating. Get another uptick. We'll go ahead and end this particular poll and share the results with you. To poll question number 2, how familiar are you with SBA funding? So go ahead and close that particular poll. And we find that 56% of you are somewhat familiar. You know a little bit about them, but you've never applied. Well, hopefully we get you over that hump today. 33% have heard of them, but don't understand the options, and 11% not too familiar at all. So thank you for the market research of Webinar Wednesday's polls today. And just because I haven't had a whimsical, fun poll question in a while, let's do one. So our third and final will be dealing with Woodstock. And I could almost guarantee that our special guest today was not attending at Woodstock. But in 1969, the Woodstock Festival, the Grateful Dead covered a song from which great country western artist? Was it Johnny Cash? Was it Willie Nelson? Was it Merle Haggard? Or was it Garth Brooks? So, Woodstock, yes, well represented by the Grateful Dead, which had a set of songs. One of them included a cover from a country western artist. Which one of those was it? So we might have used this poll question during the pandemic when we were trying to have a little more fun with life, since there was a shortage of that at the time. But our last poll question is, at Woodstock, the Grateful Dead covered a song from who? Johnny Cash, Willie Nelson, Merle Haggard, or Garth Brooks? We'll give you a last second to jump in and close that particular poll question. And the poll question is now ended. Sharing the results, 56% of you say the great Merle Haggard. And of course, it was the great Merle Haggard. 56% of you. The Grateful Dead covered his song Mama Tried, which they covered at many of their concerts. So 56%, 33% went with Johnny Cash. Thank you for participating. And let's move along. Okay, so now that you had a couple of poll questions, let's do the real thing. Jump in, and there'll be a link that Maureen puts in that will allow you to actually take the Small Business Credit Survey from the Federal Reserve Bank. You don't have to fill out every one of the questions. It's about a 12-minute survey. If the one's pertinent to you, you want to answer, go ahead and jump in and provide us some information. And it's very helpful for us because if we have enough of you respond, then we get a subset of our Kern County data. And it all gets kind of pushed out nationally in the 2024 SBCS, the Small Business Credit Survey report. And a little sample of that is some of the credit and financial products sought in the last 12 months. And if you see there that the CSU Bakersfield SBDC were highlighted in blue, had 109 respondents to this question. And it really kind of showed a little bit that we actually, rather than nationally, here in our 3-county region, 39% to 32% are more likely to actually pursue a credit card. Credit cards are not a terrible option. Many times, you got to know the terms, of course. Other loans and lines of credit, we were a little less on the lines of credit and trade credit. A little higher on merchant accounts or advances and leases. So just a little sample of that. So if you get an opportunity, please go do that. I think the window is closing the end of this month, and we'd really like to share this data with you over the next year. So a regular feature on Webinar Wednesday is our Capital Quarter. And our Capital Quarter is going to jump into a little bit, since we are a very heavily focused financing alternative resource webinar this week, but we want to just kind of give you a little information on knowing and understanding your terms. And it's incredibly important for internet-based loans, but also for all types of loans. And it doesn't surprise me that, every time I talk to somebody about potentially a fintech loan that they're looking at over the internet, they don't know the entire amount of the terms. And the terms are going to be the loan amount, the length of the loan, the repayment, particularly defined by the annual percentage rate. So the repayment on how often, the frequency, and how often long the term of the loan is, but also then the interest rate by the APR. And the prepaid interest is particularly common for a lot of these loans. And oftentimes the interest rate is not even provided. So our example that we like to give you is if you get, say, an offer from, a fintech company, and there are times when that is good financing to get. If it's, but you got to know your terms and know your options that are available to you. So your annual percentage rate that they're charging, this was an example that we saw at the SBDC a couple years ago, but it's still relevant. They were looking to get a $50,000 loan. The fees that were going to be added to that loan were $23,456, which was all in as prepaid interest. So no fee loan, but you do have to pay the entire amount of the interest, which for this was a 20-month term that was amortized daily, and actually the repayment was daily. And I know how to come up with a pretty little, there's my definition of the annual percentage rate. And then with that, we went and backed it up with calculator.net, one of the free resources on the internet, put in the $50,000 and put in all the other terms, and then determined that the interest rate was 49.49%. They would be making a payment for 20 months every day of $120.67. Doesn't sound like a lot of money, but all of a sudden you're paying back about $3,800 a month. You're just paying it back every day for a short period of time for 20 particular months. Again, clients, for some clients, this might be a good loan. For most, it mostly isn't, because oftentimes people take these loans out to improve their cash position, their cash flow, and all by paying $3,700 a month really doesn't do that at times. So our client comes in and says, dang, I'm paying 49.49%. I'm going to pay it off in 10 months and get rid of this loan because I don't want to pay 49.49%. What is the APR now? Well, you've just paid off the loan over half of the time. So you've paid off this particular interest over 10 months. Essentially, it doubles to 99.98%. I don't know too many people that want a loan at 99.98%. So please get into your terms and check them. Another feature that we have, and we're getting close to bringing back our resident economist, Dr. Mark Evans, but in the meantime, our economic corner, the SBDC is open and is not affected by the federal shutdown. However, SBA, the Small Business Administration district offices, and also some of their national offices are closed, and those services are being paused at this time. One thing that we are really kind of reaching out to clients, if you have any issues with SBA, now's a good time to look at it and to maybe try to fix it. For example, the number of EIDL loans, the economic injury disaster loans from the COVID era, from the COVID EIDL program, that a lot of businesses qualified for, and a lot of them got the same amount, $150,000. You can qualify if you're having troubles making that payment for potentially some type of a workout plan with the SBA, but please do not fall behind, because remember the terms, and knowing your terms on that particular loan, it was for 30 years at 3.75%. So being in default of that loan or falling behind can actually change or make a call by the SBA for you to pay that loan off in full. So do work with SBA, contact your SBDC if you can do that. And, there are other ways the loan can be assumed if you want to sell your business. And we're finding that some buyers really look at as very favorable, where they can come in and assume that debt. It has to be approved by SBA, but they can assume that loan, and actually works as an advantage to get them into that particular business while getting the other party who's maybe looking to retire and move on out of that particular business. We get a lot of questions, is debt forgiveness coming? And the answer to that is a resounding, we don't think so. We did see something with student loans, so we won't say it's totally out of the question, but it seemed like stronger enforcement rather than forgiving debt for EIDL loans was more of an option moving forward. Our community calendar, if you want more great financial information, you're here in Bakersfield on November 5th. Come on down to CSUB, and in the CSUB Student Union, we'll have a lot of representatives and panelists. We'll have lenders, we'll have We'll have the SBDC, SBA will be there if the government shutdown has been resolved. And there's a lot of financing and other aspects of your business that we can talk to you about at that time. Oh, some great value-added agricultural resources in the Tehachapi Mountains wine grape growing region. That is just outside of Tehachapi. You'll find a lot of great things happening this Saturday. Boy, I tell you, local wine tastings, music, artisan. It's going to be a great day. Come on down. You do know that the month of October is Manufacturing Month. The U.S. Commercial Service is one of those that is celebrating Manufacturing Month. So manufacturers out there, congratulations. The resources are continuing. We'll be talking about those today. Great time to be thinking about either starting, growing, or expanding your manufacturing business. Come to the SBDC and we can assist you in many different areas. Here's a lot of the tools that we have. We actually use Live Plan, which is a great interactive planning. We could get into all of these, but I'm going to just focus on one of my favorites, and that is our CSUB SBDC YouTube channel. About over 300 videos, the latest videos on there. You'll see unique stuff in there, such as California Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. Yes, that is something that is required for employers in the state of California as of, I believe, last year, is to have in place a California Workplace Violence Prevention Plan. We're not planning on repeating that webinar anytime soon, but it's sitting there on our YouTube channel. Our YouTube channel is now up to about 495 subscribers. You know, you can subscribe and win. We have a wonderful prize we'll be giving away probably in the next 2 weeks. And it's going to be a wonderful 2-pound box of mixed chews from Dewar's of Bakersfield, California, some of the best candies you'll ever have in your life. You do have to come by our office and pick it up. I will not ship that, but we have a prize that hopefully will be given away by the next webinar that we do. You know, we have another resource that might be available to some of you. We are one of the states that are participating in student engagement projects, and we're working with our fall interns at CSU Bakersfield through their School of Business and Public Administration. And if you want to, drop us a line, throw something in the chat if you want to be considered for an AI project for one of our local businesses. You will need to become an SBDC client if you're not one already, but really another way that the SBDC can actually have you looking at, AI and looking at a lot of the aspects that are changing in the world of AI. Thank you so much to Kern County, California. We are powered by SBA, the Office of the Small Business Advocate, the Blue Tech Valley Program, our friends at SynCal Business Finance Group, and of course, BPA, the school, all of you for making Webinar Wednesday possible. If you like today's webinar, please go to our Google and review us. If you have an issue, please contact me. I would be glad to hear any particular issues you have at any given time. So go to our YouTube page. To contact us for confidential, no cost, no obligation expert consultation, go to our website, csubsbdc.com, sign up. Clients, membership has its privileges. And we'll be back in 2 weeks for Webinar Wednesday number 365. More details on that soon. But that brings us to today's special guest. And our special guest is Scott Rogalski, who is the deputy district person for the Northern California SBDC region. He previously hosted the Finance Center and serves 36 northernmost counties in California. Wow, 36 is greater than 15 or 14. He plays a very key strategic role in the planning and development for getting capital out to SBDC clients in Northern California with a tech-driven approach to finding capital resources for small business owners. He's fostered a lot of key relationships, and really, isn't that the key? And isn't that the name of the game? Relationships to providing better access for small businesses, a top lender database, also a lot of great resources that he's going to be talking about, while serving as the liaison to the California SBDC network from 2015 to 2020. He outlined a campaign for statewide networking with the Cal Office of Economic Development, GoBiz, and the SBA. Scott, it's a pleasure to have you join us today. Great financial resources we're going to hear. Thank you for joining us, and take it away.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Maureen. Thanks for being here, everybody. Well, good afternoon, everybody. Scott Rogalski. Thanks, Kelly. Great intro. And you guys got some really good things going on. I'm just going to be talking maybe about 20, 30 minutes about SBA, Small Business Administration, loan programs. Kelly spoke about how the government shut down and it doesn't affect us, but it does affect SBA. If any of you are working with an SBA preferred lender, like a PLP, if they tell you they're a PLP preferred lender, it doesn't affect them. They can still take your application, run your credit, go through the whole process. You can work with your local SBDC, Kelly and his team, and you can still get like everything processed. But right before you fund, they are going to need SBA to give them a loan number. But it doesn't affect them from start to right before the fund. So you can still get a lot done, even though the government shut down. So today, I'm just going to go over some common SBA loans that exist that you may know about or heard about. There's a couple of new SBA loan programs that Kelly was mentioning. Excuse me. SBA is federal, as we talked about. And then there's the state of California also has some state lending programs that are pretty cool. And then there's alternative forms of capital, which is essentially all non-bank lenders and businesses. So there's some common misunderstandings around SBA, that it's a myth that they don't fund startups and that they don't, they don't really like early stage businesses. Any business that's under 2 years is an early stage business. And that's a big myth. So SBA does not decline loans. Banks decline loans. You just have to find the bank that wants to do your loan, because SBA wants to do lots of loans. They want to do every loan for every business that comes to them. And working with an SBDC like Kelly and his team, it does give you better chances of qualifying for a loan, and it does look better when you're working with the bank. And obviously, since we're funded by SBA, we have direct access to the district directors in every parts of the state, so we can get an answer about your application and help kind of push it through. Some of the SBA common loan products are these to the left. You can see the 7A. A lot of people hear about SBA 7A. I noticed on one of the polls, most of you are here for working capital, and SBA 7A is the most used loan program from SBA for working capital. Meaning, and working capital is any capital that you may need to run and operate your company, to like pay for payroll, pay for rent, stuff like that. It's not really used necessarily for equipment, anything that's longer than 1 year to pay back, or anything that's longer than 10 years. So you can see the general use of funds here, how long it takes. The time required is from the time that you apply to the time that you get the funding. So if you apply today to get the funding for most SBA 7A loans, it takes it can be as low as 30 days, but it's mostly 60 to 90, 120, what it says here. It's really mostly dependent on you and getting your financials in. That's what takes most of the time. 504 is the most common used loan program in the SBA side for real estate or large equipment. And most banks and lenders will use 504 rather than a 7A. The great thing about the 504 loan is you get to only put 10% down to buy the building, and the 7A, you might have to put 15 or 20%. Community Advantage loans, they go up to 350. They go from 25 to 350. These are non-bank SBA nonprofit lenders, and they're awesome. They're very aggressive. They'll do startup loans. If you start today, they can help you get financing. And then there's microloans, mostly under CDFIs, Certified Development Financial Institutions. Anything under 150 is a microloan. So Kelly and I, we work with a lot of microloans. And then the last slide, I have some microloans on there. They're easier to qualify for. They're faster in qualifying. Their rates are pretty decent, and a lot of them don't really care about where your credit score is. So the new SBA loan programs that Kelly wanted me to briefly go over, obviously we don't have a lot of time here. I know I'm kind of speaking fast, but we can do questions at the end. There's a new manufacturing loan program for manufacturers, an SBA loan program for manufacturers. It's called MARC, MARC, Manufacturers Access to Revolving Credit. Kind of like a big credit card. It talks about the NAICS codes. If you don't know your NAICS codes, Kelly and I can help you find them. You can get a loan up to $5 million. The SBA guarantee is, depending on how much you ask for, that just depends on the bank. That's if you fail to pay back the loan for whatever reason, the bank will be covered 75 to 85%, depending on how much you borrow. And it's a revolving loan, which is awesome. And you can extend it up to 20 years, which is really awesome because most SBA 7A loans, which MARC is a 7A loan, is only up to 10 years. So this could be amortized over 10 or 20 years, which is phenomenal. And then you can convert it to a 10-year loan, which is really cool. So again, this is only for manufacturers for NAICS codes 31 through 33. And you can use the funds for working capital, which is also really cool because most revolving lines of credits you can't use for working capital. So SBA worked with Congress to get this deal done and to create this new loan program, which is pretty amazing the way the terms are. They'll do a 1-to-1 debt service coverage ratio, which, as most of you know, banks are about 1 to 1.25. So it's a little bit lower. They comply with the SBA credit standards. And the program, it went into effect October 1st, so it just came out. Kelly and I are not familiar with what type of lenders are doing this loan program at this time. We're hoping to find out very soon, maybe next month or in December. And it's it's really expanded the SBA Express revolving line of credit. And these programs, like I mentioned, they all have some sort of rollout period, so it's going to take a little time to get to the public and get it going. And within that, let's see here, there's no line fees, which is great. And it's definitely a great program for small manufacturers as far as, loans up to $1 million. So that's the MARC loan, the manufacturing loan. It's brand new. I'm sure Kelly can give you the website. Check it out on SBA.gov. You can just type in MARC and you can check out all the parameters and the guidelines and why it was created. There's another one called the Working Capital Loan Program. This launched about a year ago. There's an export working capital loan program that's been around for probably a decade or so, and that's you had to be a company that was exporting your product or service to another country. And if you don't have export products or services, then you didn't qualify for the line of credit or the loan program. But now last year they created something called a working capital loan program, which is pretty awesome. It's like the MARC, it's a revolving line of credit. But they are essentially, for any of you that are doing business to business or government contracting, you're doing business with the city and counties of the territory that Kelly mentioned, or anywhere across the state of California. If you're doing business with the state or the feds or any other type of government entity, public entity, and it takes them 30 to 90 to maybe 180 days to pay you back once you invoice, this working capital loan program is for you. And it's also under the SBA 7A loan program. Here's a quick parameters. It's up to 5 million, similar to MARC. And it has a 75% guarantee. The loan maturity could be up to 5 years, 60 months. The loan structure is a monitored line of credit. For any of you that do have in the past had a line of credit with a bank, you have to zero it out every year. This will also be some sort of like monitor structure for you once you take the line of credit out of the loan. And then it does it for export financing as well. The base rates are here. They're pretty reasonable, very similar to most SBA 7A rates. And then the guarantee fees looks like they're a lot less than the normal SBA 7A loans. Since this launched last year, this is the performance that it has done. It's done about 120 million in authorizations and about 100 transactions. The average loan size is about 1.3 million. So pretty good, decent size. It looks like most manufacturers are taking advantage of this program currently. Some about 20% in the construction industry, and then about 17% in the wholesale trade. The number of unique lenders, you can see that most of them are community lenders that are, in certain cities and counties local to that business. About 20% are national, and then about 20% are regional. And then what product is best for you as a small business owner, depending on what type of lending you're looking for, or money that you're looking for with some of these SBA 7A loan products. This is kind of like just a really quick chart to show that. If you're looking for an open revolver line of credit, kind of like a big credit card or something similar to a home equity line of credit, they recommend the SBA Express or the MARC if you're manufacturing. If you just want like a line of credit secured by some fixed assets, maybe the SBA Express, the working cap line. And then if you're business to business driven line of credit, it could be the MARC or the working capital loan program. And then project specific, they recommend either the SBA Express or maybe a contract cap line. So I don't expect you to know the best loan product for you and your business. I recommend that you go to Kelly and his team at SBDC, and they can assist you with that, because that's what we specialize in, is taking your loan scenario, what your needs are, where you're trying to go, or if you're starting, what you're trying to accomplish, and how you're going to get there. You can work with SBDC, and we can help you walk through that process and make it a lot easier for you. So that is the SBA loan programs. We have the state loan programs, and the state is with the state of California. Not every state in the country has a state loan program, but we are very fortunate that we do. And it is very similar to the SBA 7A loan program, but instead of having an SBA guarantee, it's a state of California guarantee, which is kind of cool. Their terms are a little bit more flexible than the SBA 7A. They're easier to work with for the lender, may not really be that much noticeable as a business owner or borrower, but they will refinance bad fintech loans or merchant card advance loans. For any of you that took out a merchant card advance or a bad fintech loan, meaning you got money the same day that you asked for it, you're really excited about it, you opened the paper and you found out that it's 100% APR or some of the loan calculator stuff that Kelly was talking about. It's not an interest rate, it's some sort of factor rate. Or if merchant card advance is kind of making you struggle and you're getting stressed because it's taking all your money out every day when you wake up, the state loan guarantee program can refinance those loans. But SBA in June said they're not going to refinance those loans anymore. So, and then about a couple years ago, there's this thing called the State Small Business Credit Initiative, SSBCI. It's a federal program that came out from the feds nationally. Every state got some money, California being the biggest. We got 1.2 billion. And it kind of got broken up into two categories. Part of it went to the governor's office at iBank, and that's the state loan guarantee program. And then the other 500 million went to the California Pollution Control Financing Authority, who also has a guaranteed loan program, but theirs is more like cash match and loan participation. So the state of California has a plethora of loan programs that you can choose from that are a little bit different than the SBA 7A loan program, a little bit easier to work with the lender. But it also gives the bank and the lender peace of mind that in case you can't pay it back, they have some sort of risk mitigator. As far as looking at alternative lending options, excuse me. As far as so alternative lending is anything that's not a bank, and it's not an SBA loan. It could be an SBA loan, sorry, but it's just not a brick and mortar. You can't walk into somewhere and apply and ask them for a loan. Alternative financing is often used as a synonym for fintech lending, which is financial technology lenders online that you find. And usually the faster you can get the money, the more expensive it is, and the slower you can get the money, the least expensive it is. So if some of you could have some patience and just be cognizant that you're not going to be able to get SBA financing same day that you ask for it, But if you go and work with Kelly and his team, or you came, to work with my team, anybody in the SBDC across the state of California can essentially tell you all your answers that you want to know in the same day that you ask for them. We're not going to give you the money in the same day, but we are going to be able to answer all your questions. Something that you won't be able to find out if you go to a bank and you run your credit and take an application. They're not going to tell you for another 30 to 60 days if you're finally approved. At SBDC, we can tell you same day. We can tell you exactly what the lender is going to do for you. A lot of us are ex-bankers, ex-lenders, so we can tell you that. But all the loans, they all have different loan sizes, they all have different speeds, all different requirements as far as like how fast you get the money or how low your credit score can be. And it's hard to navigate that as a business owner. So partnering with SBDC is very important. We strongly recommend it to come to us before you go to a bank and apply, regardless of how well you know that bank or how well you think they know you. So there's other options out there for non-bank qualified loans. If you have a really good credit score, Kelly was talking about this earlier, you can get a bunch of credit cards in your name. And it costs about 8 to 10% to get, say, like 50 grand in credit cards. And we all know that credit card pricing is really high. After the 12 months, it's really high. It goes to 22 to 30%. But with a state loan guarantee program, you can get some credit cards, you can float cash at 0% for 8 to 12 months, get your business started, and then refinance it with a state loan guarantee program at like a 7 or 8% loan, 10-year loan, which is really cool. It's not the best way to start your company, but if you don't have any other means, it does work. And if managed well, it could make sense. For any of you doing business to business or business to government, not B2C. So if you're a retail shop, this won't qualify. But if you're selling to the government or a city or county or the state or the feds, you can do invoice financing. So the working capital loan program that I shared with you about SBA, that's probably the most secure, best type of financing. But if you can't find a lender, then you can do what's called invoice financing or factoring. And they charge a lot more than SBA would, but they're a lot easier to get qualified for. So if you're just in a pinch, you need to bill out 100 grand, you need to get paid back very quickly so you can pay for payroll or pay for your inventory, then maybe accounts receivable financing is a good short term, but a long term would be the working capital line product that we talked about earlier. And then collateral-based, if any of you have any commercial or residential real estate lying around that you have a bunch of equity in, you can tap into that equity regardless if it's your house where you live or it's a commercial building. If you have equity, you can tap into that. They're known as hard money lenders. They sound a little scary, but hard money just means that you get it faster, it costs a lot more, and they don't really care if you have a business plan or if you have a great credit score, or if you make a lot of money or you can pay it back. They really just care about the property and the commercial entity that you're allowing them to secure and collateralize as a tangible asset. They just care about that. They don't really care about anything else. But you can get money sometimes like in 3 to 5 days. Like it's great money. And it does help people in a pinch. It's short-term cash. If you have any cars or equipment that you own outright, you can collateralize those as well. And then my favorite one, not everybody's favorite one, but mine, is if you have an old 401k from a business, for the company that you worked at, and you quit that company or you retired, you flip that 401k into an IRA, it's your own individual account. Then you can create a C Corp and you can flip that IRA into your C Corp, and then you have your own profit sharing inside your C Corp. And then you could take that money and flip it into your business checking account. Obviously, I'm highly condensing this. It takes a little bit of time. You have to work with a third-party administrator. I'm not licensed to do it, but I have lenders that do this. And it's really cool. So you can take this IRA at any age. You don't have to pay back penalties regardless of age. You don't have to pay it back. There's no taxes, all that great stuff. You just use your IRA as operating cash. Obviously, it's risky because if your business fails and you kind of mess up your future with your IRA, but a lot of businesses use this for like a cash down payment. Maybe they don't borrow at all. Maybe they borrow some. And it's not a loan. When I say borrow, you're just essentially kind of putting it in your business checking account, and then you're paying it back if you want to rebuild it, or you could just use it as cash. But some people use it as down payment cash. If they need the 10% or the 20%, they can use this, which is a great vehicle to make that happen. And then this is the lending matrix. This is my lending matrix. Everybody has a lending matrix. Kelly has one. All his advisors have one. Everybody has one. It's all really just the best lenders they like to work with, and how that kind of coincides with the businesses that they're trying to get financing for. But these, I've been studying business finance, and I've been in business finance for about 20 years. And these are the lenders that I go to for any type of financing for any business and anywhere in the state or anywhere in the country if they're trying to look for capital. Some of these are only California based, since that's where my clients are. But Lendistry is a national lender. They're known as a fintech, but they act like a bank. They don't have exorbitant rates. They have bank rates, similar bank. They're an SBA fintech, and they also do the state loan guarantee program, which is cool. They go as low as 640 in FICO score, credit score. They will work off of projections, which is neat. You can see here, like if they're going to do SBA, state guarantee, all that good stuff. United Midwest Bank, if you're a startup and you have a good credit score, 720 plus, you can get a startup loan, 25 to 150. You can get an SBA startup loan. It says the FICO just needs to be 680, but sometimes it's better if it's over 700. They can finance you anywhere across the country fairly quickly within 3 to 4 weeks. That's really quick for an SBA loan. There's this new credit union. It's statewide. It's called California Alliance Federal Credit Union. They have a brand new loan program. It goes between $2,500 to $250,000. Obviously, a micro lender, and they are their minimum FICO score is 620. This is brand new. They're looking for businesses to fund. If you have questions about this, I can get it to Kelly. But the requirements to qualify are very, 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 very lenient, very minimal, very easy to access. So I'm excited about them. Also, TMC Community Capital, they lend between 500 and 50,000. You have to be in business 1 year for them. The California Alliance Federal Credit Union, you have to be in business at least 6 months. Some of these you can see on here, time in business is just NA. That just means you can file your C Corp or your S Corp or your LLC or your sole prop today, and you can potentially get financing right away. Like, you don't have to be in business any certain time. But TMC Community Capital, they're fast, they're quick. If any of you don't have an EIN, they can finance individuals that don't have an EIN, which is cool. Working Solutions is a California lender. They're a CDFI, and there is no minimum FICO score, which is really cool. Same with Working TMC Community Capital, no minimum FICO score. And when they say no minimum FICO score, that just means that if you have a 500, you could be okay. If you have a 300, you could be okay. If you have 800, you're probably okay. They're just going based off the story. Like, hey, who are you? What's wrong with your credit? Why did that happen? We understand mistakes happen. We can live through that. Let's look at your bank statements. Let's look at your financials. Some of these lenders don't even look at taxes, which is really cool. Main Street Launch and Small Business Finance, they are the community advantage lenders in the country, in the state, in the country. And they'll do startups. They'll go minimum FICO 640. They'll do projection based. And a lot of these you'll notice in the collateral column, they don't require collateral, which is really cool. Like, they won't necessarily ask for your house. Like, you don't have to ask your spouse to use a house. And some of these, they just don't need the house, which is really cool. A lot of you have heard some of the myths out there with SBA that all lenders want to secure your house. Well, that's not true. Some of these lenders you don't need to secure your house, which is pretty neat. So Marble Bridge Funding Group, they're an accounts receivable financing group. And so if you're looking to do business with the states and the feds, and you're afraid to, take out a contract and invoice and not get paid within 30, 60, 90 days, they're a great company, well vetted. They've done business with SBDCs up and down the state of California. They're very hungry for business, considering that banks aren't really doing a lot of loans right now. Socotra Capital, they're a hard money lender. I talked about them earlier. And then Capwell Funding, they're a national lender. They'll do that credit card stacking loan I was talking about. And I know that a lot of people that say, well, that's crazy, Scott. Why would you do a credit card loan to start your business? And, most business owners that are starting their business or most entrepreneurs, they either take from their savings, their credit cards, their 401k. So like they take from all those things, and cash is king. And I say leave cash in the bank, maybe just some credit card stacking if you need to. Just be smart about it as far as refinancing it. I wouldn't say it's the first choice. I would say an SBA 7A would be the first choice for a startup, but it could come in a if you're in a bind, it could come as a great resource. And then they also do the 401k IRA C Corp Transfer that I talked about. Capwell does. If you're just saying like, hey, Scott, there's so many banks, there's so many lenders out there, I'm not sure where to go. You can come to us, or you can play around on some of these fintech websites that don't run your credit. They're just like an aggregator, meaning like a platform that exists online where you can just go there and type in some information about your loan scenario, like maybe who you are, how long you've been in business, how many employees you have, what's your revenue, what's your FICO, what's your zip code, just a few things. And what it does is it just the AI bots float around. They find the loans and lenders that match your scenario. And one of them is caloanmatch.org, and that's for the state of California. That's part of their SSBCI loans. And then at NorCal SBDC, where I work for, just up above where Kelly is, Stockton to the Oregon border, we partner with a company called Fundica, and they help you as business owners find grants, tax credits, public, private financing. They're not a bank matching tool. It's just like a public financing aggregate of tax incentives and grants. And then norcalsbdc.org/funding is another partner that we're doing with a company called M Street X. And with them, you could find and get matched up to SSBCI state guaranteed lenders. The CA loan match is SSBCI for CDFIs. And then the norcalsbdc.org/funding is lender match for like state loan guarantees with CPCFA or iBank. And these are all great tools for you to play around with. They won't run your credit, like I said. Also, if you are looking for financing, you don't have to go to a bunch of different banks and look for credit. You can just come to SBDCs and we can do it all for you and tell you everything you need to know. Like Kelly and I have a magic 8-ball when it comes to lending. We know where to go, how to go get it, and you can trust us. And then, yeah, we'll go into questions.
Well, fantastic stuff, Scott. Great stuff. And we do have a lender's matrix as well. And what defines our lender's matrix is those lenders that are doing deals for our clients. It's that simple.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I should have mentioned that. Those are not only the lenders that we like, but those are the lenders that do the deals. You're right. Why else would we have them, right?
That's right. That's right. Called one yesterday. Okay, so moving on, we do have quite a few questions, I think, to get to. A lot of great information, a lot of great resources that you mentioned on your matrix. So let's get to the questions. Okay, hitting the questions and answers first. We will hit the chat after this. If you put yours in chat, you're fine. Starting with question number 1, what is the best source of working capital for a professional service small business where there is no record of prior year's business income?
So the best source of working capital for that scenario would be an SBA 7A. It's a service small business. And yeah, it's okay. You don't have any prior year's business income. A community advantage lender would probably be best for that, like small business finance or Main Street Launch. But that's what I would recommend for that.
Shoot me an email. I'll answer that for you in a little bit more detail.
Yes, Kelly will. Yep. Next question is
a follow-up on that. That was a sole business owner with a credit score and FICO over 700.
Oh, look at that. Boom.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. So next question, is there a disadvantage in securing operating capital as a sole proprietor?
Disadvantage of securing operating capital as sole proprietor. I would say no.
I would agree with that wholeheartedly. If you can get it,
Yeah.
goes back to what Scott said a few moments ago, cash is king.
Cash is king. Yep.
So I'm ready to start my business, but I need help with financing equipment. I think you had some pretty good resources for equipment.
Yeah. So financing equipment is I mean you could do an SBA 7A loan for that. Depending on how much money you need. So what's really important to know for everybody on the call is you really can just start with a few questions like how much money do you need? What are you going to finance it with? Because what Kelly and I are going to do is we're going to go in our lending matrix. And we're going to say like, oh, this person needs 100 grand. Okay, well these are the great lenders for 100 grand. So if you need help with financing equipment, you may need more money than just the equipment. You might need working capital, so it might be like a bigger package. Um, but yeah, there are equipment lenders, but they are kind of expensive. I just recommend like an SBA 7A for equipment.
So Scott, on your matrix, I didn't see anything equipment leasing. Do
Yeah, I
you?
didn't put equipment leasing on there. No.
Okay.
Do
But
you
it,
do equipment leasing? Do you like?
well, occasionally we run into somebody who's really good at it. So,
Okay.
sometimes it's on the matrix, sometimes it's not like yours.
Yeah.
So, hey, great presentation. Just joined last week looking for a lender. How do we figure out NACE codes for my business? Actually, you can
Yeah.
do
How do they figure that out? You can go to I should probably put it in the chat. You can go to NAICS code and NAICS finder. Let me see.
Yeah, so NACE
Um,
code is an acronym for what? The North American Industry Standard Code.
yeah, it is a weird thing, the NAICS. Here, I'll put it in the chat and you can all check it out. Let's see here. There you go. And you can type in like a keyword or a key phrase and you can find your NAICS usually, or find something similar to your NAICS code.
It is very general when you get into it, and it's a little frustrating sometimes because you want it to be a little bit more specific, but oftentimes you'll end up with a generalistic code.
Yeah.
My email address for if you want to contact me, kbearden, Bearden at CSUB, Cal State University Bakersfield.edu. Okay, over to the chat box for a little bit. And just going through a lot of the resources that are in here before we hit questions. There's greetings and salutations. Our friend Bob's here. There's the link for the Federal Reserve Credit Unions or credit survey link. Please fill that out. We need to get over 50 to get that data. So we're not there yet. And again, fill out the questions you want to. Don't fill them out all if you don't want to. I missed the resources in the chat at the beginning. Can you post them, please? There they are. The Calculator Network, CalcNet, the upcoming Finance Symposium by the Financial Management Association at CSUB. Get to the hills in Tehachapi for the wine event this weekend. It's going to be fantastic in Tehachapi. Sign up for an SBDC clients. A lot of resources in here. The Google resource page. Getting through some of the logistics there. And then there's a comment on this sounds like an alternative to factoring. I think that was going through the credit line. Also, one thing that I know Scott mentioned, a accounts receivable financing firm. And one thing that I really like about them is that number one, they generally want the referral to come from the SBDC, and they look at your entire business. So are you bidding enough on your jobs? Do you have enough profitability to afford a more higher interest than is typically from the credit line program? So other things like that. Credit resource goal. Is there a disadvantage in securing operating capital if it operates as a sole proprietor? I think you might have hit that, Scott. The rollovers for using potentially your retirement funds for
I'm still here. Just had to switch to my phone. Sorry.
So let's see. Any other questions while we're in here? I don't see too many. Man, you answered all the questions. How can you do that?
I don't know. That's crazy.
Hit the Q&A to see if something else snuck in there. No. So I guess final comments. We do have 2 minutes left. Any final comments, Scott?
Final comments. All right, let's see. Yeah, I would just say that, a lot of these lenders have multiple loan programs, and it's really important that you don't like walk into a lender and say, "Hey, I went to this webinar and I learned about all these cool loan programs from Kelly and Scott." Just apply like you would normally apply. Don't tell the lender that you want an SBA 7A or you want a state loan guarantee program, because the lender will qualify you. If they have multiple loan programs, they'll qualify you for the best one based on everything you fill out in the application. So you don't need to like worry about educating the lender on what kind of loan you want. But yeah.
Yeah. It's a good point. And getting vetted and knowing the best place to go. We generally like to, and I'm sure Scott's the same way, is we like to keep you with who you have your banking relationship with.
Yeah, that's the best. Yeah.
So that's
so
always
if
the
you do,
option, but it doesn't work that way always.
yeah, that's true. Somebody asked, do you need a business plan to apply? And the quick answer is no, you don't need a business plan to apply. But they are, before you close the loan, they'll probably ask for one, depending on your loan scenario and all the other good stuff. But you don't need one to apply, no.
And my last closing comment would be, you're just limited by your own creativity. There are so many ways to fund a business. And
Oh yeah, true.
we didn't even go through all the options and all the alternatives today. Last week
Yeah.
we were talking about Kickstarter and crowdfunding. So there's so many different options that you have. You're only limited by your own creativity. And that winds up today's webinar. A big special thanks for Scott Rogalski. Thanks for joining us this week, Scott.
You're welcome, Kelly. Thanks for having me. It's fun.
And thanks for all you do for the SBDC program in the state of California. So for Scott Rogalski, for our producer, Maureen Busherdang, I'm Kelly Beard, and we'll be back in 2 weeks for Webinar Wednesday number 364. Everybody have a great and profitable week. We'll see you then.